Good afternoon, everyone. So this is Merissa Ocampo from Fukushima, Japan. And today I would like to present with you the research that I did recently, and this is about the self-care management of Japanese students during COVID-19 to enhance subjective well-being. Here is the flow of my presentation today. But prior to that, I would like to thank everyone for being with us, and then my sincere gratitude for the energetic staffs and the organizers of Eurasia International. And these professionals really keep the ball rolling despite the pandemic. Congratulations. So the flow of my research is from introduction. I'll start from a very long introduction. I hope you don't mind. And then methodology, and then the result, and then also the conclusion and the recommendation. Since the COVID-19 pandemic began, an array of campaigns to improve the life situation of every individual is clearly visible, and this is global now. And in Japan, from go to travel, it became go to it. So they've done this in order to, boost the morale and then increase the happiness of the Japanese people. So, but due to the increasing number of COVID patients, so these campaigns were thwarted. And as an educator, I am an eyewitness of students' mental related changes from face-to-face communication to online communication. So the impact was quite big, and especially for the first year students now. So moreover, face-to-face with the mass communication plus social distancing, and then another thing is the eating without talking, and then no touch policy to avoid being infected by the virus make the used to be normal a new normal for everybody around the world now. And we're all in the same boat, right? So we feel how unchanging days mix into one seemingly unending time, and how this controlled environment changes people also, and we all develop now new personalities, new feelings, and whether we like it or not, we tend to adapt to all of these changes. A couple of months ago, the end seemed in sight in other countries, but again, the world was rattled due to the rapid increase of the Delta variant patients, right? And here in Japan, months ago, a new Lambda variant from Peru frightened people. And that is why the state of emergency was again extended and expanded. And though now 60% of the citizens are vaccinated, we still need to sit in and relax as we wait for all the citizens around the world to be vaccinated, and for us all to, be released. Where? From our own cages with invisible bars now. And a question to think about it is, does this confinement affect students and the teachers' human mind, body, and soul? I guess yes now. So let's see. So um, there are various researches related to COVID coping strategies, especially among students. And recently, not only students, now even teachers. And I also did the research about how to help some of the teachers in the capital of Japan about helping them to be, to promote or to enhance their self compassion now. So there are some strategies. There are some strategies to cope with it, are to stay, virtually connected with others, and then some others also do mindfulness and then relaxation exercises and others now. So these are all to attain the goal to be happy. So as I've said, whatever we do, we always aim for happiness now, and that is to enhance student subjective well-being now. And so, but with this situation, how can we be able to make students happy? How can we make ourselves happy now? So in the University of California Counseling Services, so they focus on these 8 dimensions of wellness that students have to be maintained and attained. And these are the physical, spiritual, emotional, occupational, intellectual, environmental, financial, and social. Many. So there are many, right? Yeah. So but how can we be happy then? This is always a big question that I always ask my students now, and even myself sometimes now, that how can we be happy when because of COVID we expect to develop fear, anxiety, depression, boredom, anger, frustrations, and irritability. So you know, a question that is always arised, and especially now a new semester just started, and welcoming the students in a new normal lifestyle is a big challenge for all of us. And as I've mentioned a while ago, people develop new personalities now because of these challenging COVID problems. So many students suffered from anxiety and even fall into depression. And in March 2021, so the result of series of online survey conducted in the late 2020s confirmed that nearly a third of Japanese high school students show depression symptoms, and COVID-19 pandemic has had a major impact on their lives now. So club activities, why? Because club activities are limited, the events in the schools are limited, and even the trips were canceled now, and even talking during lunchtime forbidden. Some 6% of all students from elementary school and the higher and said that every day they either felt like it would be better to die, yeah, or wanted to injure themselves, and the self-harm, and they had considered suicide or self-harm, and just quite alarming now. So it's quite alarming, and everybody knows that in the world, Japan has this highest suicide rate, and because of this result, it had it's serious now, very serious, and the result, how serious the level of anxiety and stress are among students in here, and probably in other countries also have the similar problems. And I don't know how, the impact of this COVID in your country, but in Japan it is now. So according to this survey last year, and so that is the reason why now. So in my class, it is not just only the English communication class, but I incorporated now the positive psychology intervention in my syllabus now. And also this is also the reason why this study is implemented, as a part of my positive psychology intervention in the classroom last year. I focused on strengthening the gratitude, the act of kindness among students, and the self-compassion and self-disclosure for teachers. And then, so this fiscal year, I extended the topic by focusing on self-care, by listening now, so listening to their selves as a part of mindfulness. And so between 2020 to 21, a total of 90 students, university undergrad students, um, 24 male and 66 females, who voluntarily answered the self-care assessment questionnaire in English. And the source of this questionnaire is from the Transforming the Pain by Sackvit and his colleagues in 1996. And then I explained each category in Japanese and English with them. And if not, they won't be able to understand well because of their limited English ability. Now. And then they were given a blank booklet where they can write at least 10 ways to take care of themselves after they listened to their body in a form of story building, because in a form of storybook. And by listening to their selves, they would be able to hear now to hear the message or the messages of their body, and then what kind of action do they do after they listened their body. So that is one of the activities that we did in order to strengthen and deepen the understanding of self-care. And participants were encouraged to use their Japanese language, which was their first language, of course, and then translate them in English. The self-care assessment questionnaire is composed of 6 categories, and the financial and environmental category are not included in here, but they were included in the 8 dimensions now of well-being, as I mentioned a while ago. And but the items related to those two were actually included in the spiritual in the workplace or professional self-care, so they are balanced. So let's see. And also the scale that are being used in here are from 1 to 5, and then 1, it never occurred to me, and then up to 5 is the frequently. And in the overall result, you will see that the emotional self-care, so 3.8 is something rarely actually, so 3.8 to 4 is occasionally. So it is something like very, very close to, in the middle, rarely, and but very close to occasionally also. So meaning that they took care of their emotional well-being in between rarely and occasionally. And then next is about the physical care, so that is the second highest now, and then the spiritual care, and the list is about the professional self-care, which is quite obvious because they're all students. So to make it more detailed, for the emotional self-care, the results show that they closely did the emotional self-care with a total mean of 3.8. And then the highest mean in this category were staying in contact with important people in their lives and find things that make them laugh and spending time with others whose company they enjoy. So it's really very important to maintain this thing now, to stay contact with important people in your life, so that actually make them emotionally stable now. And self-care, let's see the physical self-care, and with a total average of 3.79, and the results show that they ate regularly, take time off when sick, and yeah, in here actually the university support is quite strong, and then they keep on asking the students about their well-being, I mean their health and well-being, maybe yes, but so they're really taking care of them now. So they said that they got enough sleep and wear the clothes they like to wear now. So since they were still students, they obviously never did any sexual related activities now. And For the spiritual self-care, which is the third, the results show that they ate no. So they uh, cherish their optimism and hope, and then so they sing a lot. So that is the highest thing. So they sing a lot to make their spiritual happy, and then be open to not knowing. And that's it. It's only three for the spiritual, but the most important thing is singing is one way to uplift their uh, well-being. And then also psychological self-care, we see here that they quite less now. uh, they actually notice their inner experience, so listen to their thoughts, beliefs, and attitude, feeling. And then also they have their own psychotherapy, because well, I would like to tell you that the students here are students of the psychology department, and then it's some of them have some problems, so maybe now they have their own personal psychotherapy. And then also it helps really the in this time of pandemic, having contact with the loved ones or friends, and other people they know, so they use some telephones, right? But others, they make time away from the telephones, emails, and the internet in order to maintain their psychological balance. And yeah, so next is I mentioned a while ago about the how they listen to themselves, and then what do they do to take care of themselves. And I would like to share with you one of the self-care booklets of the students. Since they were in a basic English communication class, I allowed them to use their L1, which is the Japanese, to write what their body messages, and what kind of response they did to take care of themselves. And oh, by the way, so this is just only one of those. Now I actually have more than hundreds of these, and just this is how now I just was only share one of those now, and then I will read to you, and I hope you enjoy this sharing of one of the students listening to their body, and how to take care of themselves. So here it is. Now, so listening to my body, so with illustration, a simple illustration. And when I feel a dull ache, I start to feel sleepy. So in such cases, I follow my drowsiness and go to sleep. And also, I would like to remind you that this is the work of the students, and if you find some mistakes, and it's fine now, because in my classroom, in my FEMA, the family environment mode approach, I'm still developing it more, so that everybody can can use this in their own classroom. That a family environment is very important now, in order to lessen the stress and anxiety of the students in the classroom. And then also accepting mistakes in the classroom is acceptable in my FEMA approach. So please bear with the mistakes if you will find some, okay? Because I accept all the mistakes of my students, so that they won't feel stress about that one. And of course, I make some corrections right after, but this is the original. And when I'm frustrated, I start to feel hot. So that is now. And then what the student do? So when this happens, I take a deep breath. And then when I'm lonely, and I cannot sleep, when that happens, I listen to music to distract myself. And then when I exercise too hard, I get sore all over. And in such case, I try to sleep and rest my body, which is really good. Now, when I'm hungry, of course, my stomach rumbles. Now, in that case, I will eat. And then when I go to high places, I have trouble hearing. So when that happens, I yawn or swallow my spit. And When I'm nervous, my body shakes. When that happens, I chant in my mind that I can do it, I can do it. And when I study for a long time, my eyes get tired, and in that case, I warm up my eyes. And when I am depressed, I cry. When that happens, I talk to my friends to calm down. And when I am angry, my eyes go black. When that happens, I pause to calm down and look at what is going on around me. So, yeah, so this is really, really touching. And I myself was surprised when I read all these booklets of the students about how they listen to themselves and what actions they did in order to respond to their to the messages of their body. And yeah, so if you look at here on the right side, you will see many now. So there are many booklets now. So and I read one of them, and I read everything. So doing a self-care, there is no doubt that can be of help to improve well-being, manage stress and anxiety. And self-care is different to each individual because it is more on a private matter. We all have different approaches to suffice and satisfy our personal and social commitments. And that is the reason why when I read the mm, booklets of the students on how they take care of themselves, I found it really different now. So it is proven. So it is proven that all of us have our own ways. All of us have our own approaches to satisfy, to take care of our own personal and social commitments now. And Dr. Carter, a sociologist and senior fellow of the Science Center of the University of California, said that self-care is not selfish. So it promotes someone's physical, spiritual, or mental health enjoyable. So from now on, let's take care of ourselves. So it is not selfishness; it is a must to do, because nobody can do that except ourselves. And yep, so there are some, these are the reasons not to neglect a self-care routine. If we neglect the self-care, then these things these things are possible to happen with us now. So neglecting a self-care routine can make you sick, can decrease productivity, can shorten life, and it can make you unhappy, and can make you mean. And why and how can you make it sick? So it is actually suppress your immune system. When you don't take time for yourself, then you get stress hormones that are on the rise, and these stress hormones such as cortisol can actually decrease your antibodies. So now your antibodies are the part of the immune system which will fight germs, especially in this COVID pandemic. And it will fight outside bacteria, so fight viruses. But if you are stressed out and you are not doing self-care, then you may find yourself getting colds more easily or getting sick. And if you're sick, so you most certainly cannot be productive. So heart disease is the number one killer. So you must find time to have self-care routine and decrease your stress, and make sure that the blood pressure is down, which will decrease your risk of heart attacks, strokes, kidney failures. And if you neglect self-care, it can actually shorten your life. It's quite alarming. And yeah, so another thing is this now. So we have to learn to say no. No, so if we don't, if we don't learn how to say no, it decreases now. So it decreases productivity. So if you always say yes, 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 yes without thinking about your own time, then you will be able to lose your own confidence, your productivity. Now, okay, so Another thing is neglecting a self-care routine can shorten your life. So as I've mentioned a while ago, that the increase of cortisol can really shorten your life because it affects all the physical related body now. So it can kill you according to what I've read now. So it is really not a joke. So if you neglect your self-care, then you are more likely than not going to be very stressed out. So and again, so when you're stressed out and these high stress hormones come about, the cortisol, the adrenaline, you may increase your risk of having high blood pressure and heart disease. So be careful. And then another is if you neglect self-care routine, then it can make you unhappy. So when you neglect yourself, it can make you unhappy and trigger depression. So again, it can suppress neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, which have been linked to depression. And these neurotransmitters have also linked to the regulation of sleep, energy, and the sex drive. So if these things are altered, then surely it can trigger depression. So another is it can also make you mean now. So if you're running around saying yes to that person and then you're doing things for everyone else now and putting everyone else ahead of yourself, then when you get home at the end of the day, you are exhausted and you have no energy. So you have nothing left for yourself. At some point, you're going to become resentful, and that can give you a bad attitude. So it can make you mean, and really, really, people are not going to want to be around you. So if no other reasons, do not neglect your self-care because it can make you mean and miserable. And so students were encouraged to start doing this self-care routine, and students also encouraged to take care of themselves, to start a mindful and grateful journal. So they did that. And then also exercise, though we are not doing some exercises in the classroom, but I encourage them to do it by themselves. And then practice mindfulness. We are now about we started that one last semester, and then we are going to continue that. And then also the simple act of kindness. So from last week now, so we started doing this, and then start changing the mindset. This is very important now. Changing the mindset is one thing that we have to encourage students to do. That we all make mistakes, that taking care of ourselves is not a selfish thing, and always notice the good things around us. So everybody knows that self-care is one of the foundations for maintaining healthy well-being, but it is still difficult to master, right? So we teachers also need to take care of ourselves. And please look at the photo. So what do you see? How does it touch your heart? Shall we look at it? Maybe 1 minute, or maybe if you don't have a minute, then maybe we just have it the sharing later. And yes, now, so as for me, it is fostering self-connectedness. You see, my interpretation by just looking at this picture is self-connectedness. And the moth with a broken wing took care of itself and be with itself. I learned a lot from it. How about you? So maybe you have your own interpretation, but for me, it is self-connectedness. So how often are you with yourself and separated with your life? So only you can increase the level of your happiness. So self-separation from others can ruin your psychologically and physically life now. So like this moth, it did not separate from itself. Even it has a broken wing, it did not separate itself from the flowers around it to survive. And another conclusion is this now. So I want again, so when I first read this message, I realized that it was absolutely true in all aspects of my life. So to enhance well-being and happiness, it needs preparation, plan, and action. So we cannot have a sound well-being for a night. So these days, helping us to plan, prepare, and do actions, guides are abundantly available on the internet, magazines, and books now. And self-care has to be a part of us. And our routine is an essential action, not only for our mental and physical health, but very importantly for our happiness and the people around us. So it is an act now, an act of valuing your own well-being and prioritizing yourself by performing certain recovery activities. And this message from Abraham Lincoln also was shared with my students. And thank you very much for your time. And if you have some questions, then I'm here to answer. Thank you.